And we are live from New York City, the homespun yak. How's it going, Mr.
Woo!
Hatley?
It's going pretty well. I was checking up on you because you were one of several people in the Pence campaign that got COVID, yet you continue to campaign across the country. What's the strategy there?
Well, look, I mean, let's be real. The American people need me, and the virus isn't real. So I had to, of course, stick to my guns. Also, I'm going to be forced to go to the Coney Barrett hearing and
Ah,
or sentencing or whatever you want to call it. I make it seem like it's a trial. It's not a trial. Uh,
feels like it.
yeah, it does. And make sure that she's sworn in tonight because it can't wait.
No,
So
no.
that is actually happening, though, isn't it? At the time of
Hmm.
this recording, at 6:41 p.m. on October 26th, that is supposed to happen tonight.
That she's going to be confirmed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? As a
Um,
Republican, diehard Republican,
as
that
a,
believes everything in the Bible strictly
as a
as it's written,
fundamentalist.
as a fundamentalist.
Well, I take it as a victory, really.
Okay, okay.
um, I don't know. I don't know too much about her, honestly, her previous role, but I know that she was a disciple of the late Justice Anthony Scalia.
Yeah,
I call him Tony.
yeah.
Um, and he was pretty conservative guy,
Uh-huh.
and she seems to be in that sort of lane.
Yeah.
But I don't know how legitimate the claims of, she's going to overturn Roe v. Wade, or she's going to make other. I don't know. I think that's the major one, and then maybe gay marriage is another issue that people are maybe bringing up or concerned about that she might try to bring up again, or I don't know. And I just don't. I get that those are big issues, but they've been Roe v. Wade's been in place since the '70s, and I don't know. I'd like to think that it's pretty much set in stone, and that why would you bring something up that's been in place for over like what 40, almost 50 years? So I don't know. Has there been legitimate, like, on her end saying that?
Not that I know of, but you do sound like a Republican. If it's been there for long enough, it should be set in stone. Don't you dare tear down my statues.
Or my wall, or my damn wall.
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think you're right. I don't think that she's explicitly said that she's going to do anything about that. But it is. I think it's pretty. It's pretty stunning. I think out of anything that Trump has done, the fact that he got to put in three Supreme Court
Three.
justices is just mind-boggling.
It's only fitting, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure what she's going to end up doing, but if she really is like a fundamentalist, that's going to be. I'll be curious how that ends up going forward because there's a lot of battles that still need to be fought, especially for like gay rights and things like that. So who knows?
Hmm. Yeah, I just wonder how much, someone's religion
Yeah.
plays into their impartial, unbiased, legal interpretation of laws that are already set, and then developing laws, implementing laws. I mean, I think it all, obviously, it would play into that, but I think each person would, exhibit different levels of that.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. The fact that she's Catholic, and I'm just, yeah, that's something that's really intriguing to me. I always wonder how they're able to distinguish, their own, if they're able to identify their bias of like, especially in a position like that, you're so powerful in that situation. Because it's not only like, oh, I'm just going to check my bias because I'm having a conversation with someone else that disagrees with me. It's like, no, if this person doesn't check their bias, they could change the landscape for 300 million people. And
Hmm.
that's a crazy position to be in. So
Yeah.
I think that would be scary. Just the human nature of like, if she just has a bad day or she genuinely feels a certain way and she doesn't recognize her own bias that she could affect the law in such a way. I think we talked about this in the past. It's weird that you have these Supreme Court justices that have these leanings one way or another. And I
Hmm.
mean, isn't the law like, aren't you just supposed to stick to the law? Like, I don't get what's so difficult about that. Like, why do you have all these different interpretations of how to take the law? But
Yeah, I
whatever.
don't know.
I'd
Yeah,
also be
that's
interested to find out how often, let's say, like a Republican or a Democrat leaning Supreme Court justice actually goes against what would normally
people
be.
thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, there was a recent ruling about not gay marriage, but like something about that just was ruled in the Supreme Court maybe earlier this year,
Hmm.
actually. And it was like a pro gay rights um, law or piece of legislation that was upheld or passed by the Supreme Court. And people were like, whoa, that I didn't see that coming. Like the statements that some of the more conservative judges came out and said shocked a lot of people. And it got zero press because it's Trump and they don't want to give him anything, even if he deserves it or not. It's just like we're gonna just kind of overlook it. But if it was anybody else, it would have been a much bigger deal, probably just for what the actual uh, details of the law, was. Um, but that surprised me. I think it surprised a lot of other people. But yeah, you would have to imagine that most of the time they kind of stick within their conservative or liberal approach. So I don't know.
Yeah. 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 I imagine so. Yeah. It'd actually be. I might look into that actually real quick.
Yeah, yeah, because I know it was a pretty big deal in the LGBTQIA LOL plus world. No, but it was a big deal, and it surprised a lot of people. Are you seeing anything?
I'm seeing something from 2015.
Nope.
Oh, never mind. Okay, they ruled. Okay, so this is from current. So when
Yeah.
President Trump was in office, this is published in June
Is this early
17th.
this year?
It was
Oh,
June 17th. So I don't know.
okay.
I don't know how earlier you're you were referencing. They Okay. So it says when President George W. I'm going to read the entire article out loud now, because
It's only
it's
10 pages.
it's just a small New York Times article. Don't worry, folks. when
Yeah.
when President George W. Bush needed to shore up support with social conservatives during his reelection run in 2004, he turned to a familiar political tactic, demonizing the LGBTQ rights on the campaign trail and from the White House. The Republican leader began championing a
uh,
constitutional amendment banning same sex marriage. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Praising unions between a man and a woman as critical to the well being of the families.
It's Adam
16.
and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Good one, Kyle.
Thanks.
That'll shut down every debate. 16 years later, when another issue of LGBTQ
Here
rights
it
popped
is.
up in the midst of another presidential campaign, the Republican incumbent responded with little more than a shrug.
Eh.
Shrug, that's it. They ruled, and we live with their decision. President Trump told reporters after the Supreme Court issued a decision on Monday protecting the rights of the LGBTQ workers. That's what it's all about. We live with the decision of the Supreme Court.
See, that's my attitude, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
I was talking about Roe v. Wade.
Yeah. So, who knows?
Well, speaking on, religion and politics, separation of church and state, and how religion sort of bleeds into society. I don't know if you saw recently the beheading of a French teacher by a
rough by his Islamic
Islamic extremist
Yeah. Well, I
from
don't know
Chechnya.
anything about it. I just saw one quick line about it, and that's it.
Yeah. So I think he was a high school teacher. His name was Samuel Paty, and he was, I can't remember what city it was in France, but he was teaching about, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And he was like, see, we can do whatever we want, France. So here are cartoons of Muhammad. And he showed his class like don't be afraid to draw whatever you want to draw and do whatever you want to do, and just kind of making the point of how the French Revolution sparked the ideas of liberté, égalité, fraternité, and someone complained to their parents who was of Muslim faith, and they reached out to this person somehow who was from Chechnya, and told them what was going on. And they're like, he drew the Prophet Mohammed on the board, and he was like, no, that's not going to fly. So he found this guy and literally beheaded him in the street in France.
That's pretty stunning.
And that's just a very extreme example, although not necessarily something that hasn't happened numerous times before in our recent memories in France and in Western Europe, here, everywhere. It's not like it's a epidemic, but it's happening enough to the point where it's becoming very alarming, and then world leaders are having to talk about it. Everybody's talking about it, and it leads to, again, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, not trying to tell anybody what they can or can't do, unless it's harming themselves or others. And Macron responded saying, we're going to defend basically our core values, France's core values, and we're going to stand up and try to fight against extremism in any form, and certainly in this case, Islamic extremism. And he called it what it was, and that's what it is. And he is currently experiencing a massive backlash between countries in the Middle East, like Turkey, who is leading the charge, Iraq, Pakistan, Qatar, Egypt. They're boycotting all French goods, all French products, because he's basically saying he's taking a stand against extremist fundamentalism, and saying that we're not going to prosecute people just because you're offended of a drawing of a cartoon. And so I give him a ton of credit. I mean, it seems like an obvious thing to say, but in today's very, I don't know, sensitive cultural landscape, a lot of people would have said, like, obviously it's a tragedy, but we have to be respectful of other people's, rights and their culture and what they're sensitive to as well. And they experience a lot of discrimination. And he was like, you know what, fuck that. Like, you're not going to make France a Middle Eastern country that's dictated by Sharia law, something that was formed, thousands of years ago. We're not living in this ancient world, and you can either come here and abide by the rules and, work and come here and contribute to society. But if you're going to go along and try to kill people for drawing someone, I mean, we're just not going to have that. And I totally applaud him for saying that. But it's just insane that that is happening in 2020, and just another example of how, religion in certain societies, when you do blend the two, you can see how in a lot of cases it is extremely negative.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's I think it's far more covert here in the United States. Clearly, it's obviously far more covert because, well, to a degree, I think when it comes to speech and whatnot, I think it's a little. I don't want to say alarming, but I think it's a little strange when you have politicians that are like, "I
Oh
believe
yeah.
in doing this because God." It's just like, what?
Yeah.
I just look around like, is that cool with everyone? Like, what's going on here?
Mhm.
Like, if they're religious, that's cool. But like, if you're saying like I'm gonna do something because of God, like that's not
I mean,
the point.
separation of church and state has been clear since day one of
Yeah.
this
Oh yeah.
country.
Yeah.
Since day one, it's been clear, but it just continues to get like more things are allowed, like in speeches, like you said,
Yeah.
and it's just like, wait a minute, how is this happening?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's never gotten to like that extremist level of like beheading someone. Like
Yeah.
yeah. I mean that's definitely tough. Yeah. You're right though. I'm glad that Michael actually spoke up and said something about it. But I think it also speaks far more volumes about all those other countries. They're like, what? How are you not okay with this guy just expressing himself by beheading
Yeah.
one of your citizens? What's the big deal? He
Yeah,
deserved it.
exactly.
It's like, no, which,
You're missing the point.
yeah, which is,
He's not saying you can't be Muslim in France. He's saying you can't practice extremism in any form that would lead to suppressing other people's freedoms that are inalienable rights to them in France, no matter
putting,
what religion.
yeah, oh yeah, but putting religion aside, like just that reaction, just looking at it on its surface, just looking at the reaction itself and just saying, like looking at that and saying, hmm, okay, so one person kills someone else and then all these countries have this negative reaction about people saying, "Hey, don't kill one another." I mean, that's essentially what we're saying here, that we shouldn't have any sort of extremist situations where a person can just go around killing people just because they don't agree with them. And I mean, I don't understand how like we still have countries out there that have this ingrained idea of um, that's okay to infringe on. It's not just like infringing on someone's right. It's like you're infringing on their existence. I mean, you're trying to snuff out their existence, and in an incredibly gruesome way at that as well. So
Yeah.
it's strange. Like I think you can just even take the religion aspect out of it and just kind of look at it at its surface. And I would definitely question somebody that was looked at that situation and was like, yeah, but he made fun of their idol or their person that
Hmm.
they value so highly. That's I don't know. It's just religion itself is a strange concept, but just some of the things that it breeds is so weird. Like you can go back obviously into the Crusades, like go back in history to look at the Crusades and whatnot. Like there's a children's crusade. I don't know which one that was. I don't know if that was the
Mhm.
first or second one or whatever it was, but um, just strange ideas, and just these plots of land. Just like this is it,
Or
this is
this
what
is
we want.
holy.
Yeah, this is holy now. And Europeans fell into that as well. They just were like, we need to conquer the Holy Land. Um,
Oh yeah.
it it's strange. It's a strange existence. But and what's funny about Macron too is the fact that he went over to Lebanon, right, and uh, was walking in the streets and trying to like learn more information after that whole bomb that went off, or not bomb, I suppose, the fireworks.
Explosion.
You're right, the explosion went off. Um, clearly he's not saying like he hates Muslims or anything like that. That would be problematic in its own right. But he's just saying, don't kill people. Like, is that difficult to
I
get
know.
behind? I don't get that.
Yeah, just because someone believes differently than you, you know,
Right.
it make it extremist religion. People who practiced extremist religion just can't conceive of the fact that you know, a they might be wrong in some way, or b that anybody should believe any differently from them, or else they should just be not here,
Right.
basically. And anything that supports that is completely ignorant. Um, but yeah, the response from the guy Erdogan, the prime minister, now prime minister for life. So it's a fair country. Um, he's he said that Macron needs to be looked or checked into a mental institute for his comments that he made.
Right.
And with all the he just has such a huge influence now in the landscape of Europe because how there's just so many millions of Muslim immigrants from Turkey and Germany, and then from Syria, from North Africa, spread out throughout Western Europe. And um, I don't know, it's just a tough situation across the board that a lot of people are finding themselves in. Um, and it's never, people have never really, I don't know, had to deal with problems of this magnitude or this complex before on this scale. And I don't know, there's a lot of factors that go into it. I know I talked about it with that Douglas Murray book, The Strange Death of Europe,
Yeah.
but that's the first thing I thought about when I read this article about the guy being beheaded. And it just, yeah, it's just like, I don't know what the solution is. I'm not saying anyone's specifically guilty for these issues because everybody has a part to play, the governments of these countries, everything. But it's just, yeah, how do you combat these things from happening?
Yeah. Yeah. The association there that these countries are offended by what seems to be, at least to us, a rational response, and they specifically identify with this extremist notion. I think that's a weird thing. Like, how do you get over that? Trying to make policy or trying to create alliances with a country that identifies with a person beheading other people. That's
Mm-hmm.
it immediately skips over the idea of, and we're always trying to distinguish between the two, like Muslim people and then extremist Muslims. Those are two separate
Mm-hmm.
camps. But the way that those countries reacted makes it seem like we're just
But there's
skipping
a
over that.
large,
Yeah, like
yeah,
the
there's a large
extremists are
gap.
the ones that are in control.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of views that any fundamentalist believer or any religion has that would probably, not align with a modern day average person,
Sure.
like in Christianity maybe or Judaism. But I don't know. I mean, I don't have the study or anything in front of me, but in Douglas Murray's book, he's talking about, your average Muslim in like Turkey or Egypt or something like that. And although a large percentage of the population who is Muslim would never dream of acting on any of these extremist behaviors, um, they might, a large percentage of them, however, do agree with, like, you know, you can't get married if you're gay, or you shouldn't draw Muhammad, or you're an enemy of whatever. Um, so I think that when the leaders respond in this manner, it just adds more fuel to the fire. And it's just, again, like we were saying, like their government and their religion is basically intertwined purposely. I mean,
Mm.
it's well, you can't have one without the other. And that's something that, like, democratic nations of the West just can't really, I mean, I can't really wrap my head around that. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. There's a huge disconnect overall across the board. I'm just trying to, like, work out things as they're coming into my
Yeah.
mind, because it's something that I really do care a lot about. And I don't love learning about these situations, but I like to kind of delve a little bit deeper into why these things are happening um, in 2020 still. Um, just the history of why this is happening, and what things can we do to minimize this and achieve a little bit more peace across the board with people that you still want to do business with, you still want to have good relationships with, but you can agree to disagree on religion and it's not a big deal, or the impact that religion should have in, like, your business. So it's just tough. It's just because it's thousands of years ingrained into people.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And you have certain countries like those countries that are far behind in terms of like conservatives here are nowhere near what conservatives are there.
Right. Right.
And I do feel like in this country that things are shifting more towards this idea of like, yeah, I mean, religion has its place, but it's not in politics, or at least I think I would say that among the young folks, like people
Yeah.
that are voting now, as opposed to like 40 years ago. I think then
Mhm.
it was like you were voting based off of your religious beliefs, and that your religious beliefs gave you your moral compass, and therefore that's what you ended up voting based off of. But now people are very much divorcing the two and saying like, yeah, I'm religious, but I actually don't agree with this in the Bible. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this, but
Mhm.
I do agree with here. And it's just like people are creating their own moral compass that's independent of their religion. And I do think that that's starting to sway things. Even if, I mean, maybe I'm hopeful, I don't know, but um, I think that's also true even in conservative circles. So I wonder, and I do think that that will eventually happen, because I think the most accepting society will always end up winning overall, or at least
Mhm.
that's what I think kind of happens on kind of a smaller level. If you have a group of people and they're more accepting than another group of people, like um, I think that ultimately that ends up working out for the best. It has its own issues, but I think ultimately ends up
Mhm.
working out for the best, because people gravitate towards people that are more open and more, kind and considerate and stuff like that, and try to be try to be warm overall. So
Yeah.
I think that it'll probably take hundreds of years before this kind of more accepting mentality starts to become a thing in these Middle Eastern countries. And who knows, maybe I'm
Yeah.
completely wrong. It'll never happen. But I do.
Well,
I
you
like to
never know.
believe. I like to believe that there are a lot of Muslim individuals out there that are devout Muslims, but they don't believe in killing people. I
That
mean,
could separate.
yeah,
Yeah, oh,
exactly.
definitely. I think that you would hope that's the majority. I would assume, I don't know for sure, but yeah, that can actually have their religion at the time they deem and the place they deem to have it. And then they can also go out into society and work and talk to people and not have that impact anything negatively in other interactions,
Yeah,
and just can be confident enough in themselves that, I'm doing the best I can. But like you said about this country, I mean, I definitely know certain people who voted for Trump last time who have openly said, like, I made a mistake, I'm not going to vote for him again, who were um, certainly more conservative, probably more religious, and maybe that kind of was the overriding thing last time where they couldn't choose, and they're like, well, Republicans are usually a little bit more open about being religious, and
yeah,
historically I'll just go with that because I don't know. And then as these 4 years have developed, they were like, yeah, well, they felt like they made the wrong decision, and maybe won't be putting so much of that aspect into voting this time. Because let's be real, whenever a politician says, well, especially Trump, whenever they say, like, I love, I believe in God. I go to church, and like, I love all the Christians and they love me and all this stuff. And it's like, how do people honestly buy that?
yeah.
That's what I
Seriously.
wanted to know. As soon as, like, he started talking about God and religion and like holding up the Bible and all this stuff and pictures with people praying over him and stuff. And it's just like, obviously he fooled a lot of people with that. I just don't know how. I mean, everybody knew who he was before he ran for president. It's not like it's just this up and coming guy. Like if Pete Buttigieg was like, yeah, I'm really religious and all this stuff, like, yeah, I guess so. I don't know you before. I guess I'll just take you at your word. But at a certain level, everybody plays that side up to get that particular vote.
Oh yeah,
And like he did it, and it was just like, this is the fakest shit in the world. Like,
yeah.
how do you not see how fake this is in real time, and based on who he is as a person going back since 1970?
Yeah.
Um, I don't really think he's ever come out before running for president and was like, yeah, I go to, this church my whole life and, all this stuff. Like,
He shows up
no.
to the church. Everybody's looking around like, I haven't seen him around.
No.
The first time
Yeah.
I've
He's
seen
like,
him there.
I was 5, been coming here since I'm 5.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it just goes to show you that, like, I don't know, when it comes to that, it's like actions don't really speak louder than words in a
That's
way. That's
true.
kind of what politicians are. So yeah, it's weird. It's a weird
Well, I think with that,
area.
it's just you can literally just wave flash red like the Republican flag of some sort, and people. It doesn't matter what you say from that point on. People just vote. They're just like, okay, I'm convinced. You could. I'm sure there would have been at least a small subset of people that he could have said, I don't believe in God, and they probably would have heard he believes in God. He didn't mean that, like something along those lines. Like you just people are so blind. People are on this continuum of bias, and I'm. It's cool to hear that like some of the people that you mentioned that did vote for Trump ended up not. this time around, or
Hmm.
admitted that they made a mistake. So, yeah, kudos to them, because that's really difficult. That's really difficult to
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
to be able to step back and realize I made a mistake
Hmm.
and to publicly admit it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people have, well, this year in particular has been a moment of reflection in a lot of people's lives, not just about the election, but so many other things. Um, but yeah, I mean, it looks like, I guess, already just record turnout at the polls
Yeah,
all over the country. I
yeah.
don't know the exact up to date numbers, but I mean, maybe already more than last election.
Already by now.
That's just what my sources are telling me
Okay.
in my mind.
Okay. In your mind, yeah. Yeah. Those are about as believable as Trump being Christian. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and but yeah, record early voting turnout for sure in many states.
Yeah.
Um, which leads me, I don't know, when you look at the early voters, I think it's mostly I don't know. It looks to be mostly Democrats.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I voted today, actually. Today was my
Oh
first
wow!
first day ever voting, and like I've said in the past, probably my last day. But at least I did
You
it,
never know.
so everybody can fuck off. But yeah, I don't know. I imagine that a lot of early voting, obviously mail-in voting. I didn't really understand that whole deal where Republicans were like mail-in voting is unfair. They were saying that it plays into the favor of Democrats. It's like what? I don't get it. That doesn't make any sense. Like you have the exact same opportunity. I mean, can you just not read, or like what's the deal? Like, can you not fill it
I
out?
don't
Like
know.
what's the big deal here?
I'm trying to think of why it's been such an upsetting thing for so many people because I just think like I don't know. It's just the idea of like you either go out and you vote in person, you
Mm,
pussy, or it don't count.
yeah.
And I don't know. I think probably mail-in voting. Yeah, everybody can do it. I think it's different in each state on how you do it, but I don't know. I think you could. Everybody has, like you said, the same opportunity to do it. I think maybe Trump has instilled more of a fear in the postal service. That could be another thing. Like they're going to mess up. They're going to count them incorrectly. We can't trust it. You have to go vote. If you don't vote in person, you're not American.
Right.
Um, but honestly, I think a lot of the early voting and probably a lot of the mail-in votes are from the Democrats. It looks like,
Oh, that would not at all surprise me. I'd actually be
but
surprised
there's
if
going
they
to
were
be
the
a red
opposite.
wave like you've never seen. Okay, on the day of the election, like you've never seen. That's what he said.
Dude, those hand gestures are perfect. Oh man, I was watching the debate. He kept like pointing and then like just like the
Yeah, he. That's yeah. The most recent debate was pretty crazy.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it was obviously a lot more subdued
totally.
than the first one, which was nice.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was bearable this time. I will give
Yeah,
Trump credit. I will give Trump credit. He
yeah.
actually, I noticed his brain working at points where he started to say something and then he stopped himself. Yeah, exactly. He gave that that expression.
And then he would actually write stuff.
Yeah.
Like both of them, when they're writing, and when they're like,
Yeah. Oh,
It's just
you.
like they're just writing like this guy is a twat. Like I hate this fucking guy.
Yeah, probably.
Joe Biden's just checking his watch
Yeah.
the whole time.
Biden's writing his own name down so he doesn't forget.
Yeah. This is Joe against Donald Trump. Yeah, today I saw someone posted a clip of him either this morning or the other day, and he's just like, we can't, we're gonna run. We just, you can't have 4 more years of George, and we're gonna go and we're gonna, together.
That is
Doesn't know,
terrible.
forgot who's running. Just the
I
dude forgot.
that is stunning.
Woo!
That is stunning. How can you forget that?
No, I don't know.
I don't know if he just doesn't
I
get
don't
enough
know.
sleep or what. I mean, there's no excuse though. There's literally nothing.
He's had a few brain surgeries. He's in his upper 70s. I don't know. He's been in politics for 47 years.
Yeah,
There's a lot of factors that go into it. I mean, for anyone in their 70s, it's going to be tough.
totally.
Um,
Yeah.
but dude just couldn't give it up. Just needed that one last thing on the old CV.
Yeah. Yeah. President of the United States of America.
Yeah,
Yeah.
couldn't call it quits.
What do you think the odds are that he makes it through all 4 years? Let's say he gets elected. You know, Trump's just going to keep taking Adderall until. I mean,
Oh
even
yeah.
even when
Oh,
he's on his
you
deathbed,
thought,
he's going to be taking
you thought the
Adderall.
Twitter rants while he was president were bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna open up the floodgates. I
Yeah.
mean, Twitter might just ban him, but um, yeah, he'll just still be just on some sort of speed. And I don't know. I imagine they'll pump Joe full of something as well if he's president, just to prop him up at like important speeches and like a FDR sort of thing, because nobody knew he had polio, and like they had to just create these special things for FDR, but mentally he was there. So that might be a little tough. I think he might be an early trial for a Neuralink
Yeah. Oh
from
yeah.
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's concerning either way, honestly.
He would be
I
what,
don't think he'll
82 when he got back out
when it's
of.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, 82, 83, and
Joe
yeah, it's been
Biden.
since 2008 when he was elected in with Barack Obama.
Yeah. So
It's
he's
been a sharp
77.
cognitive decline.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
80.
for sure. So yeah, he'd be, I guess, 81. I mean, no, actually, like he turns 78 on November 20th, so I guess he would be
Oh,
right around 82
yeah,
when he actually
yeah,
leaves office. So that's
right.
good.
Yeah, he'll have a strong reelection campaign.
Oh,
That'll
I'm
be
sure.
interesting to see.
He seriously better not go for a reelection. I mean, I think the
I can
Republicans would
see
win
it.
that with like a a,
Oh
a
yeah,
like a dish rag. Like they just throw that out there as their candidate. I'm pretty sure it
oh
would
yeah,
win.
yeah. It's interesting because I mean, if Trump wins now in 4 years, obviously Biden's not going to run again, and you would have somebody like Buttigieg or Andrew Yang or Tulsi Gabbard,
Bernie Sanders is
young.
still young, so
Yeah, yeah, Bernard. Um, now I think, yeah. So you would
Bernie's
have
79.
pretty, yeah. He's older. Yeah, you'd have a more vibrant cast of characters that could try yet again to become the Democratic nominee um, in 4 years if Trump were to win now. But if Trump loses and then Biden stays in for 4 years and he's like Yeah, we're going to do this thing again. Let's go. We're going to keep building back better.
You know I'm not
And
voting again.
and then you've got somebody, a different Republican, not saying that that's like it's going to be a bad option, but I think if you're a Democrat, you might be like, oh man, that's pretty much guarantees a Republican win in 4 years if he decides to run again.
I would
Which, if
really
he
hope he
doesn't
would
decide
lose.
to run again,
I would hope he'd lose
what has
the
that ever happened?
primary.
Oh yeah, I mean, like has it ever happened where someone is the president for 4 years and then they're like, I'm done. I don't want to run again. I'm too tired. You do it. I don't want to do it anymore.
I can't think of any with my extensive
That haven't been killed
knowledge.
or just like ripped out of office or just lost in the re-election.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of any actually off the top of my head at least.
I just wonder how that would go down. Like what you would he's just like, I am not running again, and then it's just like, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess
Open
so.
it up. Would it just go then to be like, it's now Kamala who's running? It's
No.
no one else can come in because she's VP. It automatically moves to her.
That's an intriguing question. Yeah, I don't know. I always assumed that it was just a situation where the person just says, "Hey, I'm not running again," and then they're like, "Okay, we're gonna have primaries then," and have nominations.
I guess you'd have to announce that you're not running by a certain date.
Yeah, yeah, I would imagine. I am not running.
Day before the election. Like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
Nuh-uh, I can't make me.
And by that point, that's how Joe Biden would be. Probably like, Joe, you got to come on out. I don't want to. Joe, we have cookies out there for you.
Oh, man.
They
Oh,
want
good gracious.
snickerdoodle.
Yeah,
Just a
it's.
bad situation.
I was talking to someone about this. Why do you think people hated Hillary Clinton so much?
She's a lying bitch.
Okay. All right, all
Uh,
right.
just because she's well, where shall I begin? I
Did you
think
like her?
people no.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think I think whenever people talk about the Clintons, there's always this air of secrecy or conspiracy surrounding that name. Just career politician, cutthroat politicians that will do anything to remain in power or have influence over certain segments of society or the political landscape.
Yeah.
Um, I think how the whole Benghazi situation was handled. Um, and I don't know really the details of that, but I know she was a huge responsibility um, in that particular disaster
Mhm.
that happened while she was Secretary of State. Um, I think she publicly shamed and attacked a lot of the people who came out in the 90s and even in the 80s and 2000s against her husband for claims of sexual assault and rape and misconduct and things that were later proven to be true. And she kind of doubled down and verbally assaulted basically any accuser. Whereas, and if this sort of thing happened now, it's like you would be totally against like the Me Too movement, basically. This was all before that stuff happened,
Yeah,
and it
right.
was, and people are like, "Oh, she's such a champion of like women's rights and all this stuff," and people just so easily forget when they're blinded by a political party, um, or they want their person to win so bad, just because she's a woman, therefore she values women's rights more than ever. I mean, she didn't support gay marriage until,
Yeah, I was gonna say
like
that.
less than 10 years ago. Basically says whatever it will take to win, despite if she believes it or not. It's just whatever is convenient at the time. And people people just didn't trust her by that point. People didn't trust Bill Clinton. Um, I don't know, just involved with a lot of shady stuff throughout the years, and kind of comes off as callous. And then the bombshell of like all those emails on her private domain came out just before the election happened. I think that had an impact on it, whether people really knew what the emails were or not. It's just like it was just one more thing.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I was trying to look up what was in the emails, and it's stunning how journalists just dance around the question. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I just looked up an article on why people dislike Hillary Clinton. I don't know. I really feel like a lot of journalists at this point. This was my gripe when I was trying to have this discussion because we looked this stuff up um, about the emails. Is that the journalists? It's like one sentence actually has the information you're looking for, and they write
Mm-hmm.
above it and they write below it, and they don't bold it. They don't anything else. It's just a bunch of quotes from people on just kind of roundabout on the situation and stuff. It's really frustrating when it comes to journalism, but that's another
Oh
topic.
yeah.
Anyway, I never really found out what the we were looking up the email specific to the DNC, how the DNC screwed over Bernie Sanders or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I never really fully understood what that was. Um, yeah, I finally figured it out after like looking through like six different articles that had the headline like how the DNC screwed over Bernie Sanders, and then you read the entire thing, and like you didn't answer the question. So anyway, that's like I said, it's beside the point. For me, Hillary Clinton, I love her. I think she's
You're with her.
yeah, I'm with yeah. Well, that was her slogan, right? That was like at
I'm
least
with her.
yeah, something like that. Um, that's actually one of the reasons why I hate I when I said it hate
Kamala Harris.
at the time. No, not Kamala Harris. I don't know anything about Kamala Harris. Um, I don't even know a whole lot about Hillary Clinton, to be honest with you. But I think the way she comes off is so like she is. I think probably at the top of my list in terms of slimy politicians. That's what
Oh,
it comes off to me.
yep.
She just the way she looked, like the way she
Just like
stares and the way she laughs, and there's just something that just makes me want to get as far away from her as possible. So
yeah,
I get the jokes that like, oh, something comes
she's
out
a
bad
lizard.
about Hillary Clinton and then she just kills the people, you know. Those are kind of the jokes
Yeah.
like she just hires, you know, the Clintons just figure, you know, they'll take care of it. Um, those kinds of situations. Yeah, it seems like she's more concerned about power and how to manipulate her way through than to actually like she just doesn't seem like a real person. Like there's
No,
no way. And when she
she's
tries
not.
when she tries to be like this like ho hum kind of like, yeah, I'll grab a beer with you. You could just tell how stiff she is, you know, just like ha ha.
Yeah,
You know, it's
yeah.
so
She's
bad.
like, gets back at her. bulletproof SUV, like hand sanitizer
Yes.
now.
Yes, exactly.
God.
Uh, that's exactly what it
You
comes
see the
off
one
as.
that looked at me for like 5 seconds? Made eye contact with me. What was that about?
Yeah, right. That's what it comes
Just
off
being
as.
a
Yeah.
person.
Miss Clinton, those are people. Get
Yeah,
them out of
that's
my
how
sight.
people. Yeah. No, you need them. Yeah, and then have the nerve to have her speak at the DNC thing was just
Oh,
like, what what is she gonna tell you? Like, I don't know. She's gonna make it about herself, make excuses as to why she lost, and like, why are you having this person here to bring back bad memories for your party and to give you advice? We want advice from this person? No, we do not.
this person?
You want to blackmail this person?
Uh,
I can't remember what movie that's from. Anyway, it's and then they had Bill Clinton in there as well, who looks like he's 1,000 years old.
he does. He
He
looks like
really
he's aged so
Let's bring up
much.
the picture really quickly. Um, and they had him on there, and he's like, the president should conduct himself in a way, uh, just talking about how the Oval Office is a sacred place. You cannot tweet out
Yeah.
different. And it's like, Bill, you were getting BJs in the Oval Office, my man. You are the last person to say what's acceptable in the Oval Office. If you want to
Seriously.
do that in the Oval Office, that's fine, but don't come out and be high and mighty because you're not. This is him like 5 years ago. Well, wow.
This Twitter thing. I'm convinced Bill Clinton died and Hillary paid a witch doctor too, and then I can't read the rest of it, but it's so funny.
And then even crazier was the day of the DNC. What does it say?
Someone tell me this isn't a corpse with its eyes open right now. We've got zombies in our midst and no one is talking about it. Seriously, wake up, sheeple. Dude, that's true. That picture is pretty terrible.
Oh, that is wild.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I don't know what. I mean, he just got double pink eye going.
Yeah. Oh man.
Uh,
So yeah.
Same day that DNC happened, where Bill Clinton spoke this year, um, was the same day that the news came out with the photographs of him being massaged by one of Jeff Epstein's underage sex slaves. And it was just like, oh, yeah, here's Bill Clinton at the airport getting massaged, you know, waiting to go on Jeff's plane um, by a girl who was in the recent documentary on Netflix that came out about him. Like, it's her, it's clearly her. And people just were like, yeah, it's fine. Like, he had a sore neck.
Sure.
No
Yeah.
big deal.
No problem.
No big deal. We gotta get this guy on in 5.
It's all above board.
So you got anything else? I mean,
You got anything else?
but imagine if it's a picture of Trump in the airport with one of those girls massaging him from Epstein's plane.
Yeah.
Or if Trump had been on Epstein's plane once,
Yeah.
I mean, he would have got crucified.
Crucified. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Crucified, labeled as a pedophile, just everything that Jeff Epstein did. Now Trump did it as well. But Bill Clinton can fly on that thing 26 times. We don't know. He was helping with charity. He flew with him to Africa to give a speech. He didn't know Jeff was a bad guy.
Yeah,
He went
right.
out to his island with his, his weird temple shrine on his private island.
Yeah,
No big deal. It's just fun.
yeah, yeah. I
the
know.
uh, the comedian Tim Dillon, who has kind of blown up a little bit this year. He's has one of my favorite podcasts. He's he's kind of like he's kind of moderate politically. He makes fun of all sides, and he gets very political, but it's mostly like joking.
Mm.
But he puts like bits up on his like YouTube page, like short little clips, and he's at Jeffrey Epstein's house in Florida because he's like doing stand up around there, and he's got like a birthday cake, and he's pretending to be a different person, and he's like I've been off social media for 2 years. Like sometimes I just need a big break, and it's just been really great. And I'm back in the United States, and I'm in Florida. I want to visit my friends, and haven't seen them in so long, and they love this cake. They're going to be so surprised. And he's like, Jeff, Ghislaine, I'm
Uh,
here. And he like realizes what happens at the end, and he's like, I'm appalled by this behavior. I can't believe it.
oh man,
Uh, but he's one of my favorites right now. But I don't even know what we're talking about.
that's okay. We were talking about Bill Clinton and sex slaves and massages and Donald Trump getting crucified, and I think
Eyes wide shut parties.
Yeah, right, exactly. I think Tim Dillon's a good transition. He was on
Yeah.
JRE, right, a few times.
Yeah, he's been on a few times. Um, and speaking of JRE, it seems like this week there are some pretty big league guests on. Starting out with old Matt McConaughey.
Oh yeah, he's been all over the place. He was talking to Gary Vaynerchuk. He was
Oh,
on
really?
talking to like CNN. He was on ESPN. I don't know what Matthew McConaughey's doing, but he's just like going everywhere right now, just talking to people.
I think he's got a book out. That's
Oh,
why.
oh, that's probably why. Yeah, yeah. So
And then he had Maynard on.
yeah, I listened to all that episode, talking about wine quite a bit, and then Muay Thai. That was basically it.
Yeah, cider, mead, wine again.
Yeah,
And I thought one of the more interesting things about that was that he got COVID really early on in
in
Australia.
February.
And yeah, and he's still having like pretty severe like repercussions from it.
Yeah,
And
right.
once he said that, I was like, COVID's real.
Yeah, now I
I
believe
didn't
it.
believe it before,
Didn't
but
believe it
now
before.
that Maynard has it, I
Yeah,
believe it.
yeah, right. Yeah. He also had Salandino or something, some doctor on. I have not listened to that one yet, but
I
I'm
didn't listen
definitely
to that one.
interested in that one because it's like a keto guy, I think, or something along those lines.
Like carnivore guy.
Maybe a carnivore. Yeah, it could be like a carnivore guy. I'm not sure exactly. Uh,
And then Kanye
Paul,
West.
Paul Saladino, yeah. He's a certified nutrition specialist. Carnivore diet, you're right. Yeah, carnivore diet. And then, yeah, Kanye West. Why not?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad
I
he's getting.
listened to
You did listen to it? What
a
did you
little,
think?
a little bit, like a third of it. I mean, yeah, there was one point it was like 30 minutes had gone by and Kanye was just still talking. Like Joe asked like one question and he was gone.
Yeah,
Like just kept going and going. I mean, it's not like it was bad or anything. I mean, I'll probably finish it, but he's just all over the place. Like has a lot of ideas and talks about people's misconception of him in a lot of different regards to his life. And like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to follow just because he's just talking and talking and talking and about his religion and when he was medicated and how that was
Right.
impacting his work and things like that. But yeah, I imagine it'll probably be one of his most popular ever episodes, not necessarily because of the content is so amazing, but just because it's Kanye West and he's such a unique figure in society that you don't hear him on a long format sort of thing
Right. Uh,
like Elon Musk.
yeah, the Elon Musk one was really good. Well, actually, let me take that back. I really can't stand listening to Elon Musk talk. He's one of the most annoying people to hear talk. I don't know what everybody else's like thing is with that dude. He's super intelligent, not taking that away. He's super smart. It's just he can't finish a sentence. He just so basic. What I'm ultimately what it actually requires is that, well, I think what you need to understand, like, it's just like, just say one sentence. Just please, at least let's just finish one sentence, please. Like
And
that
then
has to
Joe will
happen.
ask like a long question. He's like, um, I don't know. I don't really.
Yeah,
And they're like, okay.
yeah,
Guess we'll move on.
yeah. He's a terrible speaker. He's the worst speaker that I've ever heard. But that's not to take anything away from his intelligence. I just don't understand why people get their rocks off by listening to this dude, because it's so annoying to me. So I enjoyed it because of actually what you were saying, the content. I enjoyed it because of the content, but the delivery was absolute trash. And yeah, so that was good, but I don't think I'm going to listen to the Kanye West one. I really don't care about anything he has to say, so I'm just going to skip over it.
Yeah, it's nothing has been super shocking or like life changing advice or anything like that.
Yeah,
So yeah, you're not going to be missing too much.
yeah. There's other episodes I've really enjoyed. I mean, I guess we should say this, that Peterson is back.
Oh,
Came back and is finally,
Dr. Jordan Peterson.
yeah, Jordan Peterson. Thanks. I couldn't remember his first name for some reason. Yeah, he
Adrian.
Adrian Peterson of the Minnesota Vikings,
Left.
Washington Redskins. Oh, I'm sorry, not Washington Redskins anymore. Washington
Oh,
football
canceled,
team.
canceled, canceled,
Hey,
canceled.
you're on here with me, so it'd be hilarious to have a whole like Twitter situation where you're the spearhead and you're trying to cancel Hope's
Oh yeah,
Funyak.
oh yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So yeah, Jordan Peterson is back, and he apparently has recovered from his drug addiction. Um, so
Did you see the video that he posted?
mhm. Yeah, he said that it was the worst time of his entire life, and then he went to a bunch of different countries, a bunch of different doctors, just to recover from it. And I guess this is a cautionary tale. If you are taking like Xanax or taking any other benzodiazepine, then make sure that you taper off of it.
Don't
Don't
do cold turkey.
don't do cold turkey, which you would think that Jordan Peterson would know that, but
I
apparently
know.
that did not get into his brain. So
Crosses.
yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. You want to taper it over time.
Yeah. I just wonder like, yeah, I mean, I just wonder if it's going to affect his mental cognition in any way. Just what he's been through. I mean,
Yeah,
hopefully not. It didn't seem that way really, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
he was
Cool.
describing some things about like neuronal damage and stuff like that. To be honest with you, he's not that bright when it comes to like the body. He's really
Right.
not. I remember in his book he was
It
talking about
seems like he's
nutrition.
tapped himself over in a lot of ways,
Oh, definitely.
like with his diet and just like he's got autoimmune disorders and he's just like, I'm sticking with this. This is the only thing that's going to work.
Mm.
And you're like,
But he even puts it in his book. I remember he was talking about nutrition for a few pages. I was just cringing the whole time he was writing about it. It was terrible.
I bet his daughter made him put that in there.
Oh, probably. Yeah, probably. And I'm glad that they found some sort of relief, but like I just don't think that they should be advising people on any stuff. So when he was talking about neuronal damage, I'm like, okay. I mean, maybe
Sure.
like is that possible? Sure, but do I actually believe that he knows exactly what he's describing? Which sounds weird because he's a psychologist, but um, psychologists don't get that much training in like
He's
neurology.
not
Trust
a
me.
neurologist.
Yeah, exactly. He's not a
He's
neurologist.
not a Sam Harris.
Yeah, yeah, he's not a Sam Harris. So yeah. Anyway, he's back, so that's good. It's good news.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad he's back and look forward to any new content he's got. And I'd love to see. I mean, if anybody hasn't seen any Jordan Peterson clips or, anything, I advise you to check it out briefly. He's got a really big YouTube page and a lot of different small clips that are really interesting on a variety of topics about how to improve your life or, you know, books of the Bible, what they mean, World War II history. I mean, covers a lot of different things. And um, I just really like his live content because you can see him thinking about things in real time and debating people. And it's always fun to watch those. There's some really great ones with him and Sam Harris debating on YouTube. And hopefully we can get back into stuff like that with people touring around and
Yeah,
talking about new issues.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd be great. You're right. That content usually turns out to be really good. I remember one time you sent me something with both of them in it, and admittedly, I got a little tired of Jordan just kind of saying all these things, and it was just like he probably could have said that in like 3 words. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
understand that's just his style of doing things. Yeah. Uh, Also, there was something else I completely forgot that I was going to mention. This is actually not really breaking news. This happened like 2 years ago, but my dad sent me a text message about it, which, so Russian scientists went to Siberia and discovered frozen worms. Okay, so there you go. There's the news now. These 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 worms are over 40,000 years old, and they thawed them out, and they were still alive. So they came back to life, and they were eating again, like right when they thawed out. That is a pretty freaking cool thing. That you have these worms that are tens of thousands of years old and they're still alive. I thought that was super,
What?
super cool. Yeah. Just because they were frozen, that's really the only reason why. But it also kind of tells you more into like different therapies for like trying to freeze people, and actually
Yeah.
preserve their body. I mean, you'd have to reach like absolute zero. If we could find a way to like really reach absolute zero, I mean, you could preserve somebody for forever because absolute zero is like minus 450 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that. So it's uh, unbelievably well. It's the coldest you can possibly get, but it completely freezes everything. I mean, when we talk about freezing and like the freezer in your kitchen, that's things are still progressing. It's just moving at an incredibly slow rate. But absolute zero
Right.
is nothing is moving, no chemical reactions whatsoever. So, um,
Oh, wow.
but you imagine these worms were probably like moving super slow. I mean, imagine being frozen there for over 40,000 years. And
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. It's such a cool thing to me to discover that.
that is amazing. And it just, yeah, it just makes you think about what other discoveries are potentially out there that can be made that might be just as groundbreaking in terms of understanding the aging process in general and trying to look at ways to combat that with, I don't know. I don't know really many ways that people are doing it now. I know Joe Rogan had that guy on, the anti-aging guy, but I'm sure there's so much research going into looking at different animals and
Yeah.
things that can age for long, long periods of time and why they're able to and how we can learn from that.
You talking about the researcher or talking about the quack that was anti-aging?
I don't know. I can't remember his name.
There was one guy that's got a massive beard. He gets drunk all the time. He drinks all the time. And he's also anti-aging, but he believes that it's like
No,
we're
it
going to
was not him.
find
It was, I know
he
who you're talking about there.
yeah. He believes that we're going to find some sort of solution, some molecule or something that's going to prevent aging. And
He's just
so
getting
he just
hammered.
doesn't care. Yeah. So he literally legitimately gets hammered. Like he's been on the
David
podcast twice.
Sinclair
David
is
St.
the
Clair,
other
yeah,
guy.
is the other guy.
Yeah.
Actually, I know someone who works in his lab,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, it's a small world, and yeah, so his research is really cool, but yeah, the other guy is really whacked out. But I'm not really entirely certain about David St. Clair's. Like some of the stuff that he says, even I mean, I'm not going to necessarily disagree with him because I haven't actually looked into that literature yet. But he takes like small doses of metformin. I don't know about you, but I'm not too keen on taking a drug that has wide spreading effects, and saying that that's going to help me with my anti-aging. But whatever. Regardless, I guess it's probably better than being frozen for 40,000
Yeah.
years in Siberia.
Fun.
Yeah, it would.
But yeah, speaking of discoveries, I'm reading that book, The Immortality Key.
Yeah,
There's that guy that, well, that guy Graham Hancock is on Joe Rogan quite a few times, and honestly, those types of episodes are my favorite when they're
really. Okay.
talking about like just like the age of the Sphinx, like it's way older than we thought it was, and like what these ancient societies were doing long before we thought they were doing it, what inspired, this ancient writing or this particular structure, what did people do here, and like, I don't know, just kind of flipping what we thought was the reason we do things now or why things happened in the past, just kind of flipping that on its head in a way. And he's definitely he's like he's a guy that like just loves to look at archaeological sites and look a little bit deeper than what history currently teaches us and asks bigger questions. And people sometimes are like, well, he's too far out there because he's into psychedelics and he thinks that that's something that played a big key in the
Hmm.
development of humanity and society and civilization as we know it from these ancient Paleolithic or Neolithic peoples that were doing these ceremonies and evolved into what we now do at like Catholic Church, where you do the bread and the wine. Was that, you know, thousands of years ago, a pilgrimage people made to ingest a psychedelic substance that would have allow them to have an experience with what they thought was God or the afterlife or
Hmm.
their ancestors, or, and that's kind of what this book is talking about, is like this place in Greece called Eleusis, where people would travel from all over the Mediterranean for thousands of years to take part in this secret ceremony. And it was so secretive that we barely have any information on it today. And you would be basically killed if you tried to spread this secret out outside of Eleusis or perform it outside of Eleusis. And like people from Aristotle to Plato, all the way to Roman um, Marcus Aurelius, and people thousands of years before them, all took part in this ceremony um, that this guy is claiming led to um, Christianity taking it and making it like, this is the blood of Christ and this is the body is the bread, and like a Easter sort of ceremony. And I'm only just in the beginning, but it's really fascinating because the guy who wrote it, he's never done a psychedelic drug in his life, but he's like a classic. He got like a PhD in Greek classics, which really nobody gets anymore. He's fluent in ancient Greek, um, and he's been to Greece and he's been all over Europe studying this phenomenon, what happened at Eleusis, and um, it's just fascinating. And he's like, yeah, I've never done psychedelics or attempted to do anything like that because immediately people would discredit me. And I'm doing this because it's like, I want to prove that people were ingesting this beer or this wine that had sort of an LSD like chemical brewed with it. It wasn't just alcohol, it was a bunch of other things. And why were they doing it? And you know, what resulted from this? And he's claiming that it resulted in something that people still do today, just in a different form. Um, so just pretty fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely is. Um, I think Joe talked about that a little bit, right, in the recent episode with
With
Maynard.
Maynard, yeah,
Yeah, just briefly, just
told him
touched on
about
it
it.
real quick. I didn't know that that's where it came from. I find it kind of funny and ironic though that like that's what Christians kind of do now, or that's kind of like it's somehow related to Christianity and whatnot. After you told me that nobody was allowed to talk about it, and now it's the I guess Christianity's the biggest religion in the world. I think it is.
Yeah,
So I find that kind of comical. They're like, "Don't you dare talk about this, or we will kill you." And
yeah, the
then
secret got out.
hundreds of years later, yeah, secret may
Yeah,
have gotten out.
got out. Yeah, he
That's
toned
it.
it down though,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I imagine that's actually why
but it
Jesus
was.
got crucified.
But yeah, it was. They were talking about like when people in early Christianity started to like stamp out, you know, cults like that would
Hmm.
do those particular ceremonies. And um it was around the time where like they would, I don't know, I don't he was talking about like the library at Alexandria, how people burned it to the ground because it was just like, if this isn't like all about the Bible, then we're burning it down.
Yeah.
And that's basically what happened. And if we would have still had that today and everything within it, I mean, there's no telling of how much insane information we would have about our past,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
how much more advanced we would be today if we had that information this whole time. It's what led to the Dark Ages, is like a destruction of all that stuff before. And I don't know, it's a heavy subject to think into a lot, and this book is it's pretty eye opening, if even partially true.
Mm. Yeah, I'll be interested as you go through because you said you were kind of at the beginning. Yeah, I'll be interested to hear more on that because it's definitely stuff that it's definitely stuff that's really intriguing. Also, even if it's not necessarily like you don't have 100% proof of it, it's still cool to talk about, like the potential, what might be out there.
Yeah, like talking about ceremonial cups that were found um, at these sites, and carbon dating would put it to the exact date and time that this is in question. And then now you have a lot of different techniques to analyze any sort of residue inside of these containers. Um, so you can tell, like honey, mint, you know, grape must, and then they've found evidence of like ergot, which can be a psychedelic substance when you're making bread or brewing beer. That can often happen if your facilities aren't cleaned properly, or if things rot or go out, go awry in any way. It can form ergot on the
Mm.
barley, and that can produce, you know, certainly hallucinogenic um, instances that have happened, throughout the Middle Ages as well, caused entire villages to pretty much go insane
Wow.
without really understanding why. So it's pretty crazy. But they may be, but they're thinking that they harnessed it in a way that it wasn't harmful, because it can often be not just psychedelic, but like actually dangerous to your health. So I don't know. There's a lot that has been looked at and a lot that still can be looked at in regards to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool for sure. I definitely like to hear more.
Yeah.
Well, as we round out this episode, there is a possibility that I don't know if we decide to record next Tuesday as opposed to next Monday. Um, that could be interesting. I don't know. I don't know if you have specific plans. I guess we can talk about this off air, but it'd be interesting to get kind of a live update or kind of a initial reactions at least, even if it's not like the
Yeah.
day of. But and I know we're probably not going to have the results, the final results, but at least we'll see kind of where things are trending
Yeah. I would love to do it
with
live.
with the election. Yeah, that'd be really really interesting. Um, we'll give people the unbiased coverage that CNN and Fox News
I know.
refuse to
Yeah.
give.
CNN.
Just make up facts as we're talking about them.
Yep. Yep. You've got an unbiased person, and then you've got your right wing person.
For those
So
of you
you got
just listening, Kyle just pointed at me.
no, no. I think it'd be a good idea to do that. It would be fun and maybe scary. I don't know.
Ooh, yeah. Dude, if Trump wins, we're both up here just silent, just so pissed off.
Oh man, last time I stayed up and watched. I remember the night, just like all day. I wasn't stoked on the day really, but there was really no doubt in my mind that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And as I kept watching it, I was just like, "What? What?" I was like, "What's happening?" And people are like, "It's fine. Like, it's fine." And
It's
the
fine.
night kept going, and it's just like it was like midnight, and it was just like there's no way that he's gonna lose now. And I was just like, is this real life? Like I was like, am I really awake? And like, have I am I tripping? I don't know what's happening. And
Yeah.
like I just it was like midnight, and I just remember walking outside and just walking down the street. I probably walked for about 45 minutes, just like
Wow.
1 a.m., just like looking up at the stars in the sky, just being like, what has life become?
Yeah.
This is just very, I wasn't even mad. I was just like, how did this happen? Like,
Yeah.
this life is just a shit show now. And turns out I was right.
Yeah. I I would be
But I
of
won't.
I would be absolutely shocked if that happened again this time.
Yeah, I won't. If that does, I won't have that reaction now. But because I'm, prepared for anything now. But I once said that Biden was going to win. I then once I
Oh
then
yeah,
said
that's right.
Trump was. I'm finally making my prediction. I think Joe Biden's going to win.
That's what I
I
think
don't
as
I
well.
actually I don't know. I think he probably will, but again, not going to be surprised if something crazy happens and he doesn't. So,
Well, I would be
based on all
surprised.
this early voting, based
Yeah.
on, you know, the polls, obviously I don't really put much credit in the polls, but it seems to be pretty much every single major polling as far as early voting goes would indicate that he's got a massive lead, um, even a lead in North Carolina, which is a swing state. So we're always like 49% to 51%.
Yeah.
Like it could go either way
Yeah.
in North Carolina. Um, but yeah, we'll see. And I think that'd be a good idea to at least do a live stream to try one
Yeah. Yeah, I'd
for
be game.
Tuesday.
I'd be game. And Kyle's not going to say it, but I'll say it for him. Go out and vote, folks. It's your duty, it's your obligation. You have to. If you don't, you're dead to us. All right. With that, we will catch you next week.
Really good.
See ya.